Webcam microphone up close. Webcam microphone up close.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
See, but I have the files. You know, I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? The brain, you know, pistols and fondle slab of choice, I don't know, computers, doesn't really matter. Internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the cartoon comes from as long as it's real. It doesn't. It's hard to get real information because seriously, they don't just read two sources whenever I try to prove out. You know, it's not. If you expect your government to tell you the truth, you're going to be sadly disappointed on another one of these things.
Dear Lord, what a dirty, dirty old man, huh?
Really? Can't be serious. Is this really how you want things to be? Come on. More hooker, eruptions? Eruptions, whatever.
Like Dave Powers kind of...
Really?
Allegedly broadcast live from Kima Region 2, within the borders of the formerly united and currently occupied states of America. We bring you the Ochelli Effect.
I damn sure know I'm an original.
We have all these situations. I'd love to know why it takes 50 years, for a 19-year-old girl to eventually get up to gumption to put these things out.
Hey, I think I just unmuted. Wonderful. So things are all nice and syrupy and all screwed up. Thank you for tuning in at UCY.TV radio. This is the Ochelli Effect. I am Chuck Ochelli, for whatever it's worth. Oh, man. I'm sitting there trying to unmute for the last, 30 seconds of my bumper music. I love it. Would not do it. Wouldn't do it. Thank you, Windows 8. Appreciate it. Really, I do. Anyway, tonight, Larry Woods is my guest, and we're going to discuss the energetic world once again. So this will be part 3 of the series with Larry Woods. If you haven't heard it, you need to go back and take a listen. But you know what? Actually, you might not have to, because I'm sure that Larry will, in some way or another, sort of summarize everything that he's covered. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, no matter how you did it, especially if you're at ucy.tv/TOE. There's a chat room there. You can participate. They don't usually talk about the show too much unless they're pissed off at me, but hey, go there anyway. If you're listening to this further downstream, there's also archives at that page, and I also have a SoundCloud account that hardly anybody uses. There is a Facebook page for the Ochelli Effect. There's also a Facebook page for me personally, Chuck Ochelli. All you need to do is know how to spell my last name, which is Ochelli. That's real simple and easy. So anyway, Larry Woods was definitely an interesting guest that I had on not too terribly long ago. But of course, we discussed alternative energy. We discussed the possibilities of magnetic forces and exactly what would be more efficient. We even got into space travel for a little while. But I haven't heard from Larry in a little bit, and I definitely wanted to get an update on what's been going on, especially from the point of view of what's happening with the Indonesia project. And other things. But, Larry, I think I have you on the line. How are you, sir?
Just great. Thanks for having me back.
It's always wonderful to have you on, sir. I really appreciate it. And I'm telling you, it's one of the shows that I love to do, is the ones I do with you, because I guarantee that I'll need to learn something during the show, because I'm just not the scientifically minded individual that you are. And it's always a pleasure to even be able to talk to you, sir. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, as I was saying, for those who hadn't caught up on the other two shows that we did together, the other two full shows we did together, we did discuss a whole lot of things about the energetic world and alternative energy, the possibilities, and the project that you are working on, or multiple projects that you're actually working on, right?
Yes, sir.
So, first off, let me just start here real easy. I mean, what has been going on with the Indonesia project?
That project is moving ahead real well. We are scheduled to go back in January to open our very first factory. It will be basically a coil factory only.
Oh, that's great. So these coils that we do see examples of on the internet, where there's the copper wiring, which is wrapped around something that almost looks like an old projector reel, in some cases, in a strategic way that creates a magnetic field and then generates electricity. This is the basics of what we're talking about, obviously, without giving away your exact formula for this.
Yes, sir. These are basically coils styled after vortex math. Vortex math will allow you to plot your pattern onto the toroidal shape. That's what it does for us. These things come from pyramid math, from Solomon math, from the Fibonacci sequence, from the golden spiral. All of these things describe the true patterns of coils.
Right, and the project in Indonesia, I mean, it's revolutionary in that you're actually trying to bring power to people who have not actually been previously able to access, like, the power grid and all that too, right?
Exactly, yeah, that's what our generators will be for. We're going to start with coils only to improve the separation of hydrogen for a hydrogen reclamation company over there. They're the best manufacturers with the simplest project and our process and the highest output of hydrogen per minute of anybody that we've found so far.
Well, right, because not only are these things entirely mathematically sound, but interesting to me because, of course, you talked about on my show before, just to recap with people, about how most of the things that you learned as an electrical engineer, you sort of had to toss out.
Exactly. Well, what I learned in school was just a little bit of what the whole truth really is. Without adding magnetism and frequency into an equation, you can't even come up close to what it will actually do when the pattern is correct.
Well, right, and of course this is a whole lot, the method that you're using is a whole lot more environmentally sound, that's for sure. Actually creates either no residual bad effects on the environment or the people, or in another way, actually, you explained how with the correct frequency, it becomes a whole lot more harmonious with biological life as well, right?
Yes, sir. All equipment now is based on a 50-cycle and 60-cycle equipment. Everything in the world operates on that. That equipment will operate 10% plus or minus. Started out just because I'm lazy and cheap. Since we're going to have such a high frequency in our generators, they're going to have to be modulated anyway. So I chose 54 because 54 will work at 50 cycles and 60 cycles. But 54 times 8 is 432, and that's in harmony with nature rather than the 440 that Hitler changed it to.
Oh, right, and where do we get the 8 in the equation, Larry?
Well, the 8 times 54 is 432, and 432 is the frequency of nature. So 54 is in harmony with that. It won't be like one voice singing out of tune in the choir.
Right. So not only is it beneficial in that it creates virtually, I mean, nothing is perpetual, but it creates a virtually maintenance-free generator for quite a long time. I mean, I think you estimated that it could survive for a couple of 100 years if it's set up properly, right?
Yeah, I've sort of reneged on that a little bit. The magnets will last for 300 or 400 years, but then I got to looking at the material that we're making it out of, and the plastic that we're wrapping it around will degrade in about 100 years. So that cuts our life in half at least.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because people have always told me that plastics, if they're built the right way, they last forever, but nothing lasts forever. And even so, with a 100-year life from the plastic components, I mean, you're still looking at something that's two generations deep before you're even doing maintenance on the thing, probably.
Exactly, and there should be no maintenance at all. We have a stationary magnetic system that goes in the vortex of each of the toroidal shapes, and that stationary, it's basically an inverted V-gate, and that stationary field will cause a cylinder, a 4-pole magnetic cylinder, to rotate once it's inserted in the field. That will float, nothing will touch, the only friction will be air, and we expect to get between 100,000 and 300,000 RPMs depending upon the shape, the configuration of the V-gate.
And what from a single unit? I mean, what are we talking about as far as the amount of power that's being generated? Say, what is the kilowatts per hour or whatever from that?
We want to make our largest unit at 5 kW, 5 kilowatts. That's enough to run a modest 3-bedroom home in America, 2 or 3 homes in Indonesia, a couple of homes in India. I think that this should be enough. If for some reason 5 kilowatts is not enough to power your home, we'll put 2 of them in series and you can get whatever you want out of it. So that won't be a problem if you need a little bit more. Our main goal is not to perpetuate a grid system. We only want to provide power for those people living off the grid.
Well, right, because this way, if you have independent power sources, that's kind of bad news for those that are in that business, isn't it?
Well, not actually. I think that we're going to be a benefit to those people. Just think about it. You're the man that owns the power company and you want all the money you can get, but you don't want to stretch power lines under the ocean to get to remote islands. You don't want to go over mountains to reach just a small population. These areas are where we will shine.
Well, this is true. I had a couple of odd questions for you because I was thinking about this and taking a look at some of the new programs that people are trying to push out there. They're giving you these incentives and things to get involved with this geothermal energy. Have you seen these things? These geothermal coils that are underground in people's houses and stuff like this?
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Excellent idea. If you're in an area where you can tap into that.
Is there any? You see, what my concern was, it just now I only looked at it, really briefly, but the thing was that it seemed to me like it was the precursor for almost like fracking, but not quite because of the way it's done. I mean, you know a little bit about this, right?
Yes, sir. Geothermal is a great way to go, but you can do it above ground without that, just simply by making thermal electricity. You have 2 dissimilar metals and heat them, and that creates a charge. So that charge can be captured and put into a capacitor bank. So actually all you've got to do is heat and cool water.
Now, isn't it funny that one of the preferred methods for heating and cooling water is nuclear energy, right?
Yeah, we prefer the sun.
Yeah, well, right. That was my point. Look at how dangerous that is. I mean, I often refer to that as a Wile E. Coyote kind of method of creating heat.
Absolutely. Every single nuclear power plant is on a fault line. What kind of intelligence is that? Not only that, the GE engineers that designed every one of them have come out and said that they're all designed to fail so that they can continue having maintenance contracts.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. We're totally against nuclear power. The Romans used steam for power 2,000-3,000 years ago. Now that we're in the atomic age with all this super intelligence, we're still making just a hotter fire with the atoms so that we can make steam.
Yeah,
Let's
it is.
move out of the steam age.
Right, it is kind of scary because, I mean, even back, during that time, they used steam heat to heat their floors, to heat their water, for their baths, everything, actually. They had fairly intricate systems, the way I see it, but the thing is that, regarding that now, it is kind of strange that we're still basically using the same method, but a different fuel to create the steam with. And frightening. It's one of the biggest menaces to the entire planet, as far as I'm concerned, because there's absolutely, even if you have these things functioning, at what is acceptable and safe and everything else, that still doesn't speak to what you do with the spent, byproducts from this.
All of the nuclear power plants were designed to make weapons-grade plutonium.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them, a waste product is weapons-grade plutonium. That's what they're there for. Don't let the governments pull the wool over your eyes. They're simply manufacturing more death chemicals.
And that's one of the things that makes me laugh, because when they had this debate about Iran and whether they should end up whether we should police them regarding their ability to go get themselves a nuclear weapon and all this other stuff, one of the things that slipped by is that, well, if they're getting their plutonium together in order to create power, then that's okay. And I said to myself, wait a minute, isn't that exactly the same process anyway? And they're going to wind up with something they can use for a weapon anyway.
Yes, sir.
I thought maybe it was just me, but it's it smacks of craziness to me again, because it's like, well, gee, I'm not going to give you a loaded gun, but I will give you the gun and the bullets, and I'm going to hope you don't shoot anybody. That's pretty much what the mentality is, and it's just a bunch of silliness regarding that. And
absolutely, we're playing Russian roulette with an automatic.
You got it. Which means that eventually, no matter how poorly functioning the weapon is, eventually you're going to get shot. Yeah, that's a guarantee. So, okay, now you have the Indonesia project, which in January you're going to go back and begin manufacturing the coils, which I really poorly described, but it is more like a donut, which is wrapped with like copper.
Yes, sir. Our coils do not have an iron core, because an iron core simply limits the magnetic field and allows the coil only to do one thing. Ours are multi-circuit coils that are both induction coils and transformers at the same time. You get multiple voltages and amperages out of them. We have one coil that we're going to use, or going to try to use, in medical equipment for MRIs. Right now, if you take an MRI, it's like getting 120 chest x-rays. We have a coil. Do you know what skin effect is?
Well, yeah, this is what happens on the outer edges of a wire when electricity is being transferred to it. Heat is created. There's a little bit of a leaching off effect, that kind of thing.
Exactly. The electron exchanges on the outer surface of the wire. The one particular style that we've got doesn't have a skin effect. It has what we call core effect. It doesn't have any outside influence whatsoever. The electron exchange is done in the center of the wire, which makes the electrical field and the magnetic field stay within the ring and the vortex of the toroidal shape. from outside of this particular coil, you can't even move a compass when it's energized. It has no effect whatsoever until you get over the vortex.
And the logical result of that, of course, is that the coil is actually a lot safer than the transformers and things that are dangling over our heads now, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. All of the harmful effects that are generated through the generation of electricity and the magnetic fields are confined within the toroidal shape itself and do not get out. If you get an MRI with our equipment, it'll be like not even getting one X-ray.
You know, one question that did come up last time I was talking to you, and I didn't get to it. It was sent to me via Skype, but they asked, had you already considered, problems like, say, if some of this equipment was struck by lightning or other disasters? Have you considered that? I mean, is there?
Absolutely.
So you already have an idea of how this stuff will behave in that case, right?
Yes, sir. Totally. When you get a lightning strike, what that does is, rather than affect your equipment specifically, it'll hit a transformer and you'll lose power. Okay? Mm-hmm. If in fact there is an EM pulse, your electronic equipment, yes, will be affected if it's not in a Faraday cage. Our equipment will never be affected because an EM pulse has no effect whatsoever on magnetics. We have no electronic parts, so there's nothing to go wrong with our equipment. It will continue to generate.
So it wouldn't even stop it then?
Yeah, it wouldn't have any effect on it whatsoever. The only effect that kind of thing would have would be on your nonlinear loads. That's all your electronic equipment. All of your completely linear loads, like your direct resistance heating, your old-fashioned light bulbs will still work. Anything that's not electronic will continue to work.
So anything that's being heated up, like with a filament of some type, wouldn't have a problem?
Not at all.
Okay. I was just curious about. I thought that was a pretty good question, actually. So
it is actually. There won't be our generator, our 5 kW generator, will be in a square cube box that is around a meter square or a meter cube. That's about 3 foot cube. Mm-hmm. And it will be under 100 pounds. We'll put wheels on it for you if you want to. It'll sit right below your distribution panel. You run wires from a disconnect on our equipment to your incoming main breaker on your distribution panel, and you're done.
So it's actually simpler than what we're looking at already because of these localized transformers. I see these things blow up all the time, and you don't have this type of problem with your setup, basically.
Yeah, we will never stop generating. There's a disconnect on the outside of it to turn the power coming out of it off, but it will still be generating inside that cube.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I got to say, so again, it's even safer than what we have now. So, yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're safer. They're mobile. They're lighter. They use smaller gauge wire to accomplish the same task. Let's take a standard electrical formula. 1 volt through 1 ohm of wire yields 1 amp. 111. That's the way it is with the world right now. With our equipment, we put 1 volt through 1 ohm of wire and get 10 amps output. So we're getting, right now, 10 times more than what you put into it.
See, why does it end up being more efficient, though, than, is it just by virtue of the vortex that it becomes more efficient at the end, or?
That's one of the reasons. we've done a lot of research and math on perfecting the exact dimensions and ratios on a torus so that it will allow the magnetic field to do as much as it possibly can. And because of design, we've been able to direct the magnetic field so that there is no eddy currents. We do not generate any eddy currents at all. That eliminates all the heat from the transformers, from the coils. We use on a prototype 100 feet, which is 0.46 ohms, of 22 gauge wire. 22 gauge wire is rated for 7.5 amps. When we put 30 amps into it, when we put 3 volts into it, and it generates 30 amps. At 30 amps, there is 0 heat rise. Okay, that's almost 3 times rated amperage. If we go beyond 3 times the rated amperage, we get a 5-degree temperature rise every 10 amps. So you could theoretically put 40 amps through this without damaging the insulation on the wire.
And that's got to do with the skin, the reaction on the skin, basically. Like even now, in a lot of standard electronics and things, you get this added heat, and that wouldn't be the problem with the power being generated in this way.
Not at all. The reason that you get heat in the standard coil designs are because they overlap the wires, they twist some of the wires, they don't have the wires passing, or the magnetic fields passing at 90 or 180, which is the only 2 angles that a magnetic field can cross itself without causing eddy currents. And we've designed a coil that the magnetic field only crosses at 90 and 180.
Right, and it has to be precise in order to in order to create this effect, though, right?
Exactly. The pattern is so loose that it has to be glued onto the toroidal shape every inch of the way. So it's a very time-consuming process.
And the glue doesn't interfere with it at all, right?
None whatsoever, and it doesn't heat up, so you don't have to worry about the glue melting off and your wire falling.
Oh, well, that's great because obviously because none of the heat would be on the surface of the wire. It's actually in the core.
That's it.
Okay.
Actually, through pattern with the proper magnetic fields, we don't generate heat at all. Even on our coils that will move a magnet from outside the coil, there's no heat generated.
Well, that's interesting too. I mean, this whole thing is entirely fascinating to me because it seems like this should have been done a long time ago, Larry.
I agree, and it probably was done a long time ago. We've been studying the ancients for a long time now, and some of the Hindu yantras, the things that they look at to meditate, I'm not sure I'm using the right word for it, the meditation designs, some of those are coil patterns. I happened to look at a Persian rug from 300 AD, and it had an induction capacitance resistance circuit in the border that went all the way around, and it was wired correctly. So I really believe that the ancients knew more than we're giving them credit for.
Well, right, and the stuff that we talked about in the pyramids also shows us that there was all sorts of different things that were going on there, even outside of these coil patterns, like you were talking about in the, oh boy, I can't remember exactly which one it is, but you could actually, there's a picture of somebody holding a light.
Yeah, that's on the temple walls in Karnak.
That's it.
There's an electric light bulb that they show. There's a power source that they show for it. There's a wire that they're dragging to provide the ground for it. None of the pyramids have got any carbon residue on the ceilings anywhere. And not only that, there wasn't enough oxygen inside the pyramid to even strike a match. So they had to light it either electrically or with mirrors, and mirrors only go one mirror in depth to provide enough light to see by.
Right, so it seems like the mirrors, if anything, were bringing in the light just so you could get yourself set up, and then you could take what is essentially is a light bulb into the cavern, right?
Exactly, and they were all the tunnels under the pyramid complex and anywhere in the world actually are high crystalline granite, which are electrically conductive. Once you charge those tunnels and get into them, you're the same potential as the tunnel. It's just like holding a fluorescent light bulb under a high power line. It's going to light up. And that's what they've done in the pyramids.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing stuff. Plus, it gives you a whole new view on a lot of the hieroglyphs that have been sort of interpreted over the years, because there's some strange things going on in those hieroglyphs if you understand that there are other possibilities regarding power sources, regarding technology, regarding the way they set it up. I mean, this stuff didn't happen by accident. Like you said, you know, those tunnels are made up of exactly what would be useful to conduct electricity. So it seems as though that has a purpose, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I recently saw a thing about what kind of electrolyte they used. There are three ways that the pyramid can generate. One way is simply by using the water traveling through the rock and the aquifer under the pyramid. When water travels through rock, it generates electricity. That would project an electrical charge up into the Baghdad battery room, which would charge the batteries, you can use those in series and parallel and get whatever kind of voltage and amperage you want. That went up into the Queen's chamber. The Queen's chamber could have had any electrolyte in it at all, and the electricity going through it would have generated hydrogen. That would have gone up through the Grand Gallery, through the 27 tuning forks, where they've got slots in the top and the bottom. Those are for tuning forks, or tuning rods of some sort. Those tuned it to the specific frequency needed, which would have been microwave frequency, to go up into the King's chamber. The King's chamber has 5 huge stones on top of it that are all perfect on 3 sides, and the fourth side is got chips and drill holes and all kinds of things in it. That was done to tune those stones so that they could provide the proper frequency for either communication, teleportation, power transmission, whatever all of the actual things on the pyramid were designed to do.
And notice one of the things that doesn't come up in this discussion is wires. This is all like wireless stuff that's being done.
Yeah. It's all transmitted out the top of the pyramid, and then it comes from the top of the pyramid. It's held, or excuse me, let me start again. The pyramid was covered on the outside with non-conductive stones. That forced all of the electrical energy up through the apex of the pyramid. That went through what I think was a ring stone made out of dolerite, which increased the frequency, and that in itself projected the power in a higher magnitude. The monoliths all over the area were collectors, just like the Tesla towers, where you went to recharge your power supplies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's amazing stuff, and of course, this does bring up Tesla as well, because a lot of people are very fascinated by what remains of his technology, the knowledge that he had, and stuff. I mean, obviously, a lot of it has been hidden or lost in one way or another. What do you think about that?
I think that Tesla learned a lot of what he learned from the Davis Manual of Magnetism from 1842. Give me just a second.
Sure. It is, because Nikola Tesla always comes up in these types of discussions. I mean, the fact that he was able to do so many things wirelessly, and of course, there were mind blowing things that were probably coming out of that could have easily come out of Tesla's archives had it all survived, had it all been passed on. But there, of course, there was a gentleman named Edison who kind of took the lead regarding this type of stuff. So
yes, sir, he ruined it for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we remember. I mean, everybody knows the iconic thing about the elephant being killed and all that kind of wonderful stuff. But I was very curious to hear about what you thought about Tesla. But you think that's exactly the manual that he started from?
Tesla and Leeds-Gallinan both learned a great deal from this manual. Leeds-Gallinan's magnetic current is almost word for word. It's experiment for experiment. It follows this book. Tell you what. Let me see. I've got a copy of it right here that's available for reading only on the internet, but I'll drop that link in the bottom in case people are interested. I would suggest that anybody that does any kind of magnetic work, please read this book.
Oh yeah, I'll take that link and I'll drop it into the chat room for everybody.
Okay.
So as soon as
mash all the right buttons here.
No problem. Take your time. There it is.
There we go. This book was written in 1842. It is a college manual. It's just excellent. It explains magnetic electricity. It explains thermal electricity. It explains how to make a magnet. Everything from kindergarten level right on up through college. This is an excellent book.
Right, but what do you think though about the fact that a lot of the so-called Tesla technology has been purposely sort of hidden? I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, a lot of it's been hidden, and there are many things that he's doing that are really, really good. But there are a few things that he was doing that present harmful radiation. Say, let's take his exciter, for instance, the device that Tesla used to make fluorescent light bulbs light up. That exciter generates from a low voltage. It generates a high enough frequency charge that, yeah, sure enough, it excites the gas in dead fluorescent tubes that won't even lighten a fixture anymore and makes them glow. It excites the gas in a good tube and makes it glow. But after you use it, and I know some people that have made them and used them, after you use it for a while, you'll get a headache, you'll get disoriented, you'll get weak in the knees, and the next day all of your joints will hurt. Now, I don't really think that type of Tesla technology is safe for the general public. It's like living under a high power line.
Right, I was just going to say. I mean, because it's unfettered like that, and it's not being shielded from. Yeah, it lights up the tube, but it doesn't really care where it's going. It's obviously going to do something to anything that can conduct electricity, and hello, the human body can do that. So, right?
Well, without everything being the same potential, then you're going to create problems. If everything in the world were the same potential, then it wouldn't be a problem, because you you would be part of that electrical field. With the exciters, you're creating an alternative electrical field. Yeah, I know that a lot of the Tesla guys are going to go against me and have a bunch of bad things to say to me. I just don't feel like some of it is safe. Now, Tesla had communication equipment that was amazing. He had a particle beam, a frequency beam, if you will, that is absolutely amazing. But some of it can be used for destruction. Just like everything else, there's a military application for everybody.
Well, right. Even the guy who was talking about using frequencies to help clean up the Gulf was talking about the very same stuff. But the thing is that you know who I'm talking about, right? That was trying to clean up the oil spill.
Yeah, and that'll work. But how many of the mammals is it going to kill?
Well, right, but I guess it's a point of the lesser of two evils at this point, because when you think about it, you know, how much is the oil going to kill? Can you clean up the rest of the mess? You know, is it better to kill some of the mammals to clean up the mess, or is it, you know, I don't know, you know, or is there a way to tune stuff like that so that you can target the non-living organism or the non-living parts of what's contaminating the area? There must be a way to do that, right?
I would assume so. In theory, there should be. We haven't done any research in that type of frequency. We've been dealing with the healing frequencies, the Delphegio frequencies.
All right, and this is very important too. Nowadays magnets are an acceptable way to deal with a lot of things regarding discomfort and illnesses as well. If they're in the right way, they can do a lot actually for the human body, can't they?
They sure can. The blood has got iron in it, so it is magnetic. So if say your knees hurt, you can put a magnet on your knee, and it'll stop the pain in that spot. And on mine, I've got real bad knees. I put a magnet in one spot, and the pain will go away there, and it'll come to another spot. So I move the magnet to that spot. After I've chased the pain spots around 2 or 3 times, then the whole thing goes away. There's no more pain there. The magnets draw the blood to that area, which increases the blood flow in the capillaries. The increased blood flow brings the white blood cells, and that makes you feel better.
All right, and it's become a lot more acceptable in the past decade or so, but actually this was sort of like crazy talk only maybe 25, 30 years ago, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This was all insane. Things that they would never allow us to learn in school.
Well, yeah, and that's the weird thing, because, look, even doctors, 50, 60 years ago understood that there was iron in the blood. Why wouldn't it make sense that a magnet could have some sort of effect on it, and create at least increased blood flow, or if you used it properly, you could actually, make things run a little bit better. I mean, it seems like, again, one of these logical things that should have been in place a long time ago.
Yeah, and the frequency can make your teeth better. When your teeth get loose because you've got bone loss, they'll reset your teeth. There's a lot of things that it can do for you.
Well, see, that seems strange, because I wonder if you could explain that, because that seems a little bit odd to me, because after all, like I said, it makes sense with the blood because of the iron. But why does the magnets affect one's bones?
Well, it draws the blood there. It draws the blood to them and recharges them. It brings the healthy white blood cells to you, and it's just the way to go. The ancient Indians, the American Indians, in most of their camping sites, there were piles of lodestone with a little piece of iron in it. So if they hurt, They put that little piece of iron where it hurt and touched it with a lodestone, put a magnetic field through it, made you feel better. Does away with a toothache.
Yeah, I was just going to say the most common use for that I've heard of is for teeth, actually for a toothache, right?
Yeah.
You know, but I thought that would be more of an effect on the gums, not necessarily on the teeth. But I guess
the bone marrow has got the iron in it as well, and it's got there's blood in there. It's not flowing blood like we think, but there is blood in it. So yeah, it just stands to reason that magnetic field would help. And there are healing frequencies that can be achieved magnetically that are all good for you. Everybody's body has its own specific frequency, like a fingerprint, but they're all within a certain frequency range. And every different organ in your body has its own specific frequency range. So when we tap into the harmonics of those frequencies, we can heal people.
That's and there it's just a matter of measuring what the proper frequency would be, right?
Exactly. Like the Rife chair, it was a tunable coil that you sat in front of, or between two coils actually, and those coils presented the proper harmonic resonance to heal your body. Was that Royal Raymond Rife, that guy? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wonder if you would speak about him a little bit, because everybody talks about Tesla, but Rife is not often mentioned.
Rife used pancake coils to present different frequencies. Now, there are some of his frequencies that got out that weren't exactly healthful, but a lot of them were. Through the Rife chair, you can help arthritis. You can help a lot of basic ailments like gout. The more common things, and we think that literally with the proper frequencies coming out of this type of a chair, whether it be with these coils or different ones, that you can heal anything that's wrong with the body. Because all we are is a machine. When our machine is tuned properly, we function properly.
Absolutely. And, before I forget, because I just got a little reminder, I really need to thank Barry Prince for turning me on to you, because you're just an amazing wealth of information, and also doing amazing work. So I mean, it's just an absolute privilege, and thank you, Barry, very much for that. Of course, Barry Prince is also a radio guy who does Shake and Wake Radio on the Shake and Wake Radio Network, and just a really good guy to talk to. I gotta be honest with you. You're gonna hear from Barry more in a couple of my shows coming up, by the way. But just a little reminder there. I wanted to give credit where credit is due, because I had not even heard of your work necessarily, or you before Barry. So just a quick thank you to Barry.
Well, we're public, but not real public.
Well, I know, and you also have these roundtables too, where you have discussions. They're not necessarily for the air, but yourself and some other people get together and discuss these kinds of things as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to thank everybody from Knights of the Round Table and Mad Scientists and Brain Food and all of the other myriad of groups that I speak with almost on a daily basis. There are so many brilliant minds in the world. Once we get together, a group of us can solve a lot of problems.
Absolutely true, and thinking about it though, I mean, just solving the difficulty with the electrical system as it stands, even in the Western world. I mean, this stuff what you're doing is so revolutionary. I mean, I'm almost worried for you because it just seems like it's going to knock a lot of the money men down that are getting paid constantly for maintaining this really antiquated and dangerous electrical grid that we're in.
That's sort of the way we feel about it. That's why we're starting overseas. Anything in the Western influenced world that we do would upset the fossil fuel people, and I'm sure that we would disappear like so many before us. We want to work with people off the grid where the power companies do not want to provide power. Those people that have power for an hour or two a day because they can't afford the fuel to run their generators, those are the people we want to help.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing, though, is that those people that rely on those generators, which also rely on what they used to call fossil fuel in order to run them, you're kind of taking money out of their pockets, too, with these generators, I think.
Yeah, a little bit, but not anywhere near as much as we would if we went to the big city and started providing free power for everybody. We don't want to perpetuate the grid. We don't want something that people have to pay for over and over and over every single month for the rest of their lives. It's not worth it.
Well, right, and if I think about the amount of money that I've had to pay just to keep the lights on, over the past 10 years or so, I mean, geez, if I could have made a singular investment at some point and been able to generate my own power much more safely, et cetera, wow, what a world I would be in.
Well, in this country, it only takes 2 or 3 years to get a $5,000 power bill. And at 5 kW at $1 a watt, that's $5,000 from now for the next 100 years, at least.
Right, so 2 years compared to 100 years.
Might be a good investment.
Seems like it. Your children and your grandchildren will still be enjoying that power. So
that's it. Right. And I'd like to help out your power customers right now. All the people that are on the grid. The power company has to have a certain amount of power available to you so that your stuff doesn't go out. Okay, how they figure that is they bill in a 30-day cycle. So one 15-minute period in that 30 days that you have your highest consumption, that's what you pay for because that's what they have to have available to you. That is your base monthly charge. So don't turn everything on all at the same time when you get up. Don't leave all the lights on in your house all the time. When you leave a room, turn the light out. When you're not using it, turn it off. This is a common practice for the power company, and anything you use over that amount, you get charged a premium for.
Well, right. So essentially, if you can keep your peak usage from climbing over a certain amount, you'll start to save money right away because they bill you based on that peak, I guess.
Yes, sir. So at night when you get home, you don't need all the lights in your house on. Just use the lights in the room that you're in.
Oh, right.
Turn off some of your light bulbs.
No, and it seems like a simple, logical thing to do because you figure that you're consuming at all times, and therefore, they're billing at all times. But that's not really the way it works. Like you said, they bill you based on that peak usage. And, if you've got everything fired up and then you've also got, say, electrical cooking or whatever else and, the 3 computers and so on and so on and so on, and you do that for like 15 minutes, you might have just created a thing where your base cost is going to be as if you had everything on at all times. So that's what the problem is there, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
that's just a simple way that we can try to lower our electric bills.
Oh, right, and and the use of stuff like the geothermal, and there was another thing that you brought up on the show before, which was about rods in the backyard.
Yeah, an earth battery.
Earth battery, that's what it was. Yeah.
You can get about 2.4 volts out of the earth at any time. If you use two dissimilar rods, say a copper rod and a steel rod, or a copper rod and an iron rod, or a copper rod and an aluminum rod, doesn't matter as long as they're dissimilar. There will be a potential charge between those two rods. If you put four of them in your backyard in a big square about 10 foot apart each, then you can wrap wire from each one of them around all of four of them and create your own little power grid, your own little transformer in your backyard. Attach a coil to the ends of each of these wires. There'll be four sets of them, and you can use those coils in series for some to amplify the voltage, and in parallel for others to amplify the amperage. So with that system, you can power your house. You can also, from that, run a wire way up into a tree, wrap it around an iron nail, and you've got an excellent antenna.
Oh, right, that would be like a powered antenna like they used to use for relays for standard broadcast, right?
Yes, sir, just exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. And meanwhile, this stuff isn't a whole lot of money to produce, and you could actually, even if you just used it to augment your current system, you could save a great deal.
Exactly. You could go to the junkyard and pick up old scrap TVs or old scrap motors and use the wire off of them.
Oh, right, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with repurposing things like that as well. So
not at all, and you can get all kinds of electronic stuff out of the junkyard. Boards don't normally go bad; it's generally the power supplies.
Yeah, this is true. A lot of cases, and some of the older computers, they've stripped them apart and all that kind of stuff. But some of the newer electronics, like say from the past 10 years or so, actually provide you with a lot of components that are still usable. And even if the components aren't usable at all, the different parts, you can sort of disassemble them and create a lot of this stuff. There's plenty of wire that goes along with them, and so on, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's hundreds of feet of wire on every motor out there. And it's all wrapped wrong, so it doesn't hurt to take it off.
Exactly. So, now, I also, a couple other odd things I wanted to get into, and we've already basically done an hour here. I'm looking down at the clock because I can't see it otherwise, but I just... the recent developments with this. You saw the lander on the comet.
Yes, sir.
Now I know we were discussing the at one point in an earlier show we had talked about magnetism utilized for space travel.
Yes, sir.
And you had, if you want to give a sort of brief explanation about that really quickly, that would be great. But I'm wondering what you're thinking about this lander, because it seems to me like a little bit strange that they're able to put this thing even on this spinning asteroid. And I'm probably not using the right terminology, but I mean, look, that's what I figure it is, because it's a rock. That's flying through space. It just seems to me to be an asteroid essentially, but they're saying it's a comet. I'm not great with this kind of stuff, but I figured you might have something to say about it, because they were talking about the different ways that they could use to land on these things. And of course, this is the European Space Agency which did this. Although our mainstream here wanted to make it a point that some of our NASA stuff had been on board with the lander and all that kind of good stuff. But I figured you might have something to say about this.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's taken them a long time to get there, which in itself is an amazing feat that they could meet up with something that's, 4 million or something miles away. that's amazing to me. I think that the technology that went into it is amazing. I do believe that there is a better way than solid fuel for propulsion. You don't need an exhaust in order to make something move in space. All you need is a pressure field, and that can be accomplished magnetically. Victor Schauberger taught us how to do that. A German scientist for Hitler, he experimented with air and water by creating a stronger field behind you and a weaker field in front of you. You literally fall into the hole, and we have done that magnetically through coil arrangement. You can create a strong South Pole field on one side and a strong North Pole field on the other side. And when you change the strength of these fields, you can increase the field behind you and decrease the field in front of you and fall into the magnetic hole no matter which way you've got it pointed.
Right, and then it's just a matter of having a way to change the direction, and you've got propulsion without the problem of running out of fuel, without the problem of as we saw recently, these different vehicles that had exploded, on the launch pad and all that too, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're experimenting with an ion pulse motor now, which is a real nice thing because you can make that pulse real fast, and each pulse will increase your speed. But the thing that I see that's wrong with that is it will take you just as long to stop as it took you to start. So the getting up to speed is good, but you're going to have to spend that much time slowing down, which means that rapid acceleration and deceleration is an impossibility with that type of system.
Well, yeah, that's the thing here is that if you use the magnetic, the idea with the stronger field behind the direction you're going in and the weaker field in the direction you're going in, that kind of thing actually can be dampened pretty easily, changed really easily, and if you just reverse things a little bit, your stop time is like nothing, so you don't have the same inertial problem that you do with these these solid fuel propellants and all that, right?
Right. So yeah, they're doing a lot of things these days, electrically and magnetically, as far as flight goes. That some of them are real interesting, and some of them seem like maybe there could be another system added into it to augment it.
Oh, right, and you know what else you had mentioned on a previous show is, and I don't know if you can go into this tonight or not, but there was the possibility about a magnetic driven vehicle that you were starting to work on. I don't know if you can go into it or not.
Yeah, we're working with a group that's wanting to make a tube train. Magnetic levitation train that travels in a semi-vacuum. We plan on coating the side walls of the tube with graphene so that entire tunnel generates as it's being used. That can be a power generating system as well as a self-powering travel system.
Right. So again, you have the concept of induction and production both working hand in hand. So it's a cyclical thing. By virtue of the fact that it's being powered and moving, it creates power for itself to keep making power and moving. Right.
Exactly. And one generator or a capacitor system in each vehicle will give you the initial impetus to move it, and once it's moving, you're there. You're generating power to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the great thing, and like I said, it's just a very similar principle to the coils, because after all, you had explained to me that there was a way that it generates power in and of the fact that it's generating power. So, I don't know how you can explain that a whole lot better than I can. You see, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just not. I'm not the scientist inventor that you are. You know, so it's just really fascinating and like just like mind blowing to me that this stuff can be done, and really without a whole lot of negative consequences regarding the manufacture, the implementation of this stuff. The environmental concerns are all out of the way. Because again, even with this tube train idea, you're talking about something that's not going to create a negative impact on the environment.
Exactly. Yeah, and not only that, that'll be a vehicle that you can travel. It'll be in a magnetic bubble to begin with, so there will be no outside influence of inertia. You're only influenced by what's going on inside that magnetic bubble, which will be a stable field. You can go 2,500 miles an hour or faster and stop in less than a quarter of a mile with no inertial effects. So this will be a wonderful thing. New York to San Francisco in 40 minutes.
Now, an odd comment came up in the chat room regarding graphene. They said that, I'll just read it to you. Graphene is the power breakthrough, but graphene is dangerous to the environment.
Absolutely. We're looking for a polymer now, and we think we've got one in magnesium oxide that will suspend the graphene without insulating it and allow it to never come out of solution or out of suspension, if you will. That way we won't have to worry about it, because like I said, graphene is exceedingly dangerous. It has a smaller crystalline structure than asbestos, so it's much more dangerous than asbestos. It's something that you cannot handle with your hands. It's something that you cannot breathe. Therefore, if it were in electronic equipment, you can make a graphene battery that never runs down. Okay? Never runs down. A 4 centimeter cube or square of graphene on carbon will provide 2.4 volts. Again, same as the earth voltage, continuous. That builds a charge up to 5-something volts, and then dissipates down to the 2.4, but it will never get below the 2.4.
Another interesting comment here from the chat room again, that the conductor instead of graphene.
Absolutely. Hemp is an excellent conductor, but when you turn the linear hemp fibers into graphene, that's a superconductor, or almost a superconductor. It is probably the best medium for making graphene. Although graphene can be made out of coconut fiber and any other linear fibrous plant.
Any linear fibrous plant?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's interesting. Listen, if any of you guys want to call in, I'm sure Larry would answer this type of stuff, because, I'll miss your comments in the chat room because I'm not so good visually. You guys know that. So, 718-717-8296 if you want to call in, and I'm sure Larry would be more than happy to entertain questions or comments about exactly this subject, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I know you enjoy talking to anybody who's interested in alternative energy, alternative propulsion. I guess I almost want to call it crypto science, because what's happened here is that it's really been kept from the mainstream scientific community, most of this stuff.
Yes, sir, and it's been shown to us from the beginning of our recorded history. Everything that we've done is not original. Everything that we've done is from the wisdom of the ancients. And we've added a little bit of modern knowledge in with it, but just enough to keep us in the safety ranges, and the new vortex math which is not really new, but the vortex math has allowed us to plot the design on the torus shape. So yeah, from the very beginning, it's on the pyramids, it's on the temple walls, it's in the yantras, it's in the Hindu writings, it's in the Mahabharata. All of these things have proven that the ancients were electric. The ancients had full use of electricity. The ancients could fly.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating thing, and that gets back to what I was talking about regarding the hieroglyphs, because people have told me that that's a misinterpretation on my part, that there are actually things that appear to be flying in the hieroglyphs, but and others have said they are just representations of possibilities or of spiritual experiences, etc., etc. I think they were actually depictions of real things.
A representation of a levitating ground car, representation of a helicopter, representation of a submarine. What are they talking about? They are real. They are actual pictures. I've got a picture of a golden plate that's got an attack helicopter on it. Where did that come from? Do we have time travel?
Right. Unknown caller, I can't add you in. If you want to try and get in, it has to let me see your number, unfortunately. So if I try and add you in, what happens is it'll hang up on the show and everything, and I'll be just talking to you. So I'd love to take that call, but I can't. But anybody else who wants to, it's 718-717-8296. I posted that number in the chat room. It's on the page, by the way, in case you don't see it. It's up toward the top. But sorry, Larry. I understand what you're saying, and that's the thing, is that there's representations of all this stuff, and there's even possibilities of other things in the hieroglyphs. Something that looks like an airplane to me.
Yeah.
See,
there have been people that rebuilt the airplane designs. The bird that's made out of wood is a glider. They've redone the jet engines, the jet airplanes that they show and release from South America. Those are real. Those actually fly. Birds don't have vertical tails. Birds have horizontal tails. So they depicted the things that they actually saw. Now, whether the ancients that were the common people got to use these technologies or not, we don't know. They may have been just for the elite, just for the priesthood that had all the knowledge, just for the people that came and told them how to build their buildings. But they actually saw these things and were able to reproduce them in their jewelry and their icons. So they had to have been real, because these people didn't make pictures of things they didn't see.
Well, right. I mean, they wouldn't waste their time with depicting fictional constructs. I mean, this is and everything else in those images are things that they did see. There are people, there are bodies of water, and I think it's just really a misinterpretation of the modern archaeologist that leads us to believe that that this stuff is all fanciful or fantasy coming from the ancients, that this is actually part of them laying down their history. So,
yeah, that's the way we see it. I might be wrong, but that's the way we look at it. It's got to be something that they saw, something that they used. It's all real. It's just a matter of us to interpret it and use it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like you said before, not only were these, the pyramids themselves are basically broadcast centers for either communication or energy, but I mean, there's other things going on there too. I mean, there's entire systems that pretty much, if you just add water to them, they create a whole slew of other technologies too.
Oh, yeah, the Red Pyramid, one of the older pyramids on the Giza Plateau, was a water generator, a hydroelectric plant. The entrance to it goes down at a 45-degree angle. That hits a platform that's perpendicular to that, which sends the water at a 90-degree angle into a room, into the side of a room, to create a swirling vortex in the water, generating electricity out of the Red Pyramid.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the examples, but there may actually be more, because again, I don't think that these structures have been fully understood anyway. There could be multiple purposes, not only not only for the conductivity that we were talking about, where we have the light bulb and all that, but I mean, there's other stuff going on there too.
Yeah, one of the other things that could have been used as the electrolyte in the Queen's chamber would have been hydrogenated zinc and hydrochloric acid. When you put those two together, they make a violent reaction that creates hydrogen. So without electricity, they could have created hydrogen to make the pyramid do what it can do. Also, if you fill the chamber, the pool chamber on the aquifer completely up with water, that would hit the ceiling of that chamber and create a pulsed frequency that would also generate power into the pyramid. So there's 3 different ways that the pyramid could have operated, and we know how to do every one of them, so there's no point in not starting them up.
Right. That is exactly the thing here. And besides that, I'm going to actually add somebody in who's been trying to call in, but having a little bit of trouble. So let's see here.
Let's talk about the Bosnian pyramids just a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
They're putting up a power beam now that can be seen, some of them. A gentleman went there with a device to read that power. As you get closer to the power source, the intensity of your reading increases. Well, that's the way it is now. When the man was on the apex of the pyramid, the farther away from the top of the pyramid that he got, the stronger his signal got. That meant that tower is not emitting a signal, it's receiving a signal.
Right, that's exactly the point, but what is the source for that?
We don't know whether it's simply atmosphere or space. It could be from another galaxy. We have no idea where it's coming from.
So the Bosnian pyramid is more like a collector.
Yeah, it's a receiver.
A receiver would be a better word, yeah.
And they've just recently found 5 new pyramids in Bosnia. There are pyramids literally everywhere in the world. Right. There's an entire grid system.
Justin, you've been added into the call. How you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
All right. Were you the one trying to call in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, man. The thing is, if it's an unknown caller and I try to add it in, it'll cut off everything else except you. That's what the problem was. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So, you have a question or a comment?
No, I just was going to throw something in there, but I don't remember what it was now.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
That's okay.
It took me a while to get you in, but I mean, I'd be more than happy to hear your thoughts about all this, because I think we're discussing some really interesting topics here. And
the Bosnian pyramid, it's the angles are a lot different than any other pyramid.
On which one?
It's 5-sided, the Bosnian pyramid, right?
The one
pyramid of the sun.
Yeah, the one that's emitting the signal. Yes, that's the 5-sided one.
5-sided, yeah.
So that would change. That would change its how it receives things.
It's not It's not a tetrahedron. It's a box, a 3-dimensional box. It's the way it's designed. It's different. Like pyramids, they're tetrahedrons. A pyramid above is a pyramid below.
But being 5-sided, it could be 10-sided, like the pyramids are actually 8-sided.
Yeah.
Got another caller adding in, actually. Looks like, 817. How you doing?
Oh, doing fine. Muddy Mudman.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah, twice. I was using the Skype because it works better.
Okay, cool. You wanted to add into the discussion?
Sure, why not?
Okay, what's on your mind?
Well, basically, I've done an interview with Larry. It took about 4 hours long. He's the man. Basically, click right along with him and help him any way I can.
Oh yeah, well this is the third 2-hour show I've done with him, and I haven't even gotten to everything I really want to get to, but I do keep going back and reviewing a little bit just to give people a little context. But yeah, Larry's incredible, that's for sure. And you notice there's nothing I can bring up essentially that he doesn't have a viewpoint on, doesn't have a great deal of knowledge about, regarding all these types of subjects. I mean, it's amazing.
Let me clarify something at this point, gentlemen. I am a tiny, tiny dot of knowledge on a gigantic ball. Every single one of you knows a bunch of stuff that I do not know, and I want to know what you know.
Questions.
Go for it.
Sure.
Questions give you answers.
Absolutely.
Hey, Larry, I left you a chat about a day ago. Something that just kind of hit me as a epiphany. The main thing I saw was we take the frequencies of the Earth and stuff and basically start sending it back out. Take it and amplify it and send it to the primary of the Tesla coil, where the coil is somewhat tuned, where it'll reach these frequencies at 432 or 54 hertz, sending it back out. It should help the life around there and also combat HAARP, correct?
Exactly. Once we change to the proper frequency, that will make everything better. People won't be agitated all the time. We'll be able to think more clearly. There's so many benefits to the proper frequency. And the 440 just isn't doing it. The 440 is keeping us upset. The 440 was designed to subjugate man.
Yeah, I wondered, I've heard you speak about this before. I'd really love for you to explain how all of these different frequencies actually cause an effect that does create agitation among the population, like in brief, if you could.
Okay. Okay. The body is an electrical machine. It resonates. It has frequency because it resonates. That frequency is the frequency of our electrical system. Our electrical system is tuned to 432. The 440 that Hitler installed is detrimental. It keeps us agitated. It doesn't allow us to think clearly. It is an enslaving frequency. Once we are retuned to nature, then we will get better. We will be more healthy. When our electrical system is properly charged and properly tuned, we're healthy and we don't die.
And physiologically, what this does is create a kind of a poor blood flow to the brain, which automatically makes the organic machine function improperly, right?
Exactly, and all the fluoride and bad chemicals that they're giving us are calcifying our pineal gland, which keeps us from being able to have creative thinking.
That's right. If you go sit in Ed Leeds Scallan's chair for a week, you'll feel a lot better.
That's right.
Because it's a rock that's vibrating at that frequency, that healing frequency.
You happen to know the frequency of these telluric currents?
No, I don't have those in front of me.
I'm thinking they're resonating with the Earth, and either on, like you said, 54 hertz to the 432. So
yeah,
some
harmonious frequency. Yeah.
I'm going to try to tap those and amplify it and send it to the primary, the Tesla coil. And, I've got a frequency meter, so I'm going to see what. I will let you know what I come up with. I think it'd be great if we could just design and build that. I mean, shoot, you got free energy off of that as well, and probably light a light, and then it'll flicker at the rate that we need as well. So I think it'd be great to emit it out here, you know, just to amplify what is already there to help nature.
Exactly. We're studying the Delphegio frequencies right now that are healing frequencies that they address the different organs of the body. Once we retune our organs to the proper frequency, we'll be in better shape.
Yeah. I know these, what do you call them here, these meters that they put on your house, your electrical meters, the wireless ones. They call them smart meters. I don't think they're very smart at all. Going into one website, I've seen where they can actually actuate your body or put you in total pain, actuate your fingers with much dexterity, but frequency for one person doesn't work on another one. So what they're doing is basically receiving from you as you're sitting in front of your computer and all, and tuning to your body, and before long they can actually take over it, give you holographic imagery, bypassing your eyes and ears and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty scary. I think they got a little bit too much control. We got to get rid of these smart meters.
Exactly, and that smart meter is using the entire wiring system of your house as a resonator. It's putting those frequencies through every electrical wire in your house.
You're basically wrapped in a Faraday cage.
Yeah, a Faraday cage of bad
in simple
power.
terms. Yeah, that's
right.
Resonating, disturbing you, putting pressure on you at all times, agitating you, irritating you.
Yeah, it's keeping out the good stuff and bathing you in the bad stuff.
Yep, and I've even heard that in the wee hours of the morning they put in frequencies that really agitate you for a few minutes.
When those send off the signals, they're sending off, the frequencies are really high.
Yep,
well, they're in the gigahertz. They're up there with your Wi-Fi, but they put out, from what I read, they're putting out close to 100 times your legal limit. I mean, the rest of the world has these things, and they're kicking out, and they're really low. I mean, it's like looking at a house compared to the Empire State Building on the graph.
And they say that they only transmit once in a while, but no, they transmit a lot, quite frequently during a day.
Yeah, every time you turn something on, something else on and add a load, they transmit back to the power company.
You want to see it, you can get some 8-bits, put them on a leaf there, and then bring it somewhere in the vicinity of your meter. You watch them all kind of sway all at once at a pulse. It's not good. It's not good at all.
And I got to be honest with you, when I try to sleep in a place where there's no electrical power, I get a whole lot better rest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Camping is a great vacation. Also a good honeymoon.
If you spend 20 minutes a day barefoot on the ground, you will retune your body. Everybody needs to do that. We need to spend at least 20 minutes barefoot on the real dirt, not on asphalt, not on concrete, on the real dirt somewhere.
Yeah, you want to explain exactly why, though, Larry?
Say that one more time, please.
I said you want to explain exactly why that's such a good thing to do?
Yeah. any frequency, when there's a different frequency, both of the frequencies try to maintain an average. They try to reach each other's level, just like water. And so when we go out of our house, get onto the dirt, then we're back in contact with the frequency of the earth, and our bodies will retune to that frequency, away from the 440 back to the 432.
There you go.
What
Yes.
about grounding your bed springs?
Beg your pardon?
What about grounding the bed springs?
Grounding the bed springs. If you could get to real earth, where are you going to ground them out of your house?
I'll run a wire right through the ground. I don't care. I mean, right through the floor. I don't care. Get it right there, and then, shoot, I'd sleep on a piece of aluminum foil if I had to.
Well, yeah, that should retune you in itself, but it doesn't take all of that time. You can retune in about 20 minutes.
Right.
Now, the body is an amazing engine, and all of it electrical. So,
Absolutely.
and it's also a conductor, unfortunately for us, because, like you said, with all these other outside influences, the reverse Faraday cage and all that seems to be in every home in this country. Isn't it convenient that they've and you know what about the new light bulbs, Larry? I know you got something to say about that as well.
I don't want to cuss on the radio. The new light bulbs that have electronic circuits in them are probably one of the most harmful things that has ever been forced on mankind. Every electronic device puts out harmful EMF. Every electronic device generates odd harmonics. Odd harmonics travel in opposition to power flow. That means that they cost you more to operate to begin with. That means that they are trying to change the frequency that you're at. The harmful EMF coming off of them will make your eyes go bad. They'll make you sterile. They'll disrupt your organs. There's not anything good about them other than they draw less power to give you the same amount of light. And that's not a good trade.
No, not at all. That's the only thing that's supposedly the benefit, right? And meanwhile, the electronic devices that you have plugged into your reverse Faraday cage, which is what I'll from this point on call it, not only do you have the bad residual effects just from it being powered up, but then, of course, there's the operation of the devices themselves creating different magnetic fields as well.
Absolutely. We've got 450 milligauss of ambient magnetic radiation in my living room. That 450 milligauss of ambient radiation, when we put an oscilloscope on the coil, not energized, puts out 7 milliamps. That tells you in itself that it is generating bad power, bad energy that you are involved in one way or another. So take your cell phone out of your pocket, put it into a Faraday cage, we're planning on putting out a line of Faraday clothing to help protect you from these things with a reclamation circuit in it, so that the harmful effects that you're being protected by are gathered and converted into electrical energy to charge your cell phone. So now you can put your cell phone in your pocket and it'll charge, and you will be protected from all the harmful stuff.
And this is another great thing about the designs you're coming up with, actually, is that they all seem to include reclamation in them, so that even when you do have, say, a residual power coming out of a device or a machine, it can be actually reclaimed and repurposed in order to power that machine. It's like energy recycling in a way, right?
Yes, sir. I'm an old man. I'm cheap. If you can reclaim it, I want to reclaim it. There's no point in bleeding all this extra energy off to the ground. You can charge capacitors with it. You can use it to charge a circuit. You can use it for anything.
And you're doing the world a lot of good by doing such, because basically you're absorbing it out of the air and you're not allowing it to go anywhere. You're turning it into just storing it as energy. It's not going back out.
Yeah, we're reclaiming the usable energy.
Right.
And I think that should be on everything. We'll have that on our Faraday cages around our generators. We'll have it on the clothing. There's no point not looping your system to regather all that extra power. What we do today is we run it off to that ground rod. Any imbalanced load in your house at all runs off to the ground. If you've got two legs of power on your 120 volt, 220 volt panels. Okay, two legs of 120 volts. If one leg has got 30 amps on it and one leg has got 40 amps on it, that's a 10 amp imbalance. So all the time, constantly, you're pumping 10 amps through that ground wire back into the ground outside your house. That power is wasted.
Not only that, it goes back to the power plant, and you're paying for twice as much of the electricity you're getting.
That's right.
Which is, another thing that we don't need to pay them for if we can reuse it. I mean, why?
Exactly. I think that every house should have a capacitor system on the grounding system, so that you can put a spark gap there, and every time your house is trying to dump something to ground, you can capture it into the capacitor system and put it back into your system.
That's what they do on your computer. All over your circuit board. At the end of every little strip of or chip or anything, you find these little capacitors are all the same size, basically tuned to pick up any stray or RF and everything like that, and they ground it out and waste it. It basically takes that frequency out of the computer, and pretty much doing it out here in the air and everything. It'll keep that. It'll absorb what's in the air and then basically put it to ground. It shorts it out.
Which would just simply put a lot of people in a better mood if we did that on everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we should mass-produce these circuits, show people how to make them, let them do it. And it basically take a lot of the effects of HARP away from you, too. Changing your genetic structure and all that manipulation of your body and mind, man, forget that stuff. I like being free.
I like being healthy.
Yeah.
It's nice to have both, though, guys. It's good to enjoy your freedom being a healthy, natural person. So, another thing, we never did touch on HARP, really, Larry. Again, I don't want you to have to feel the need to restrain yourself from cursing on the air, but
I think that all HARP installations should be repurposed. We can use those installations for listening. We can use those installations for protecting the Earth against an asteroid. There's no point in destroying our world. Every time they use HARP, there's an equal and opposite reaction on the other side of the world from it. So when we try to make it rain on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, then it causes something else somewhere to be dried out. That's why we have these severe floods and severe droughts all over the world because they're messing with things they don't understand yet.
All right, the disruption itself is the problem because this is where the real effect comes in is afterwards, because whatever it is they're trying to cause with it is one thing. I'm being asked, by the way, if you have a website to go to.
No, we don't have a website and we don't have any YouTube videos.
Right. I'll tell you this though, if you don't mind, Larry, I would say that people can get in touch with you through Facebook if you want to use that.
Absolutely, I'm Larry Woods 146 on Facebook.
Right, and if you're not sure which Larry Woods is which, you can just go to my friends section and you can find him because he's one of my friends on Facebook, and you'll know which Larry Woods it is. But you know what? If you just take a look at a couple of the posts, you'll know who it is right away anyway, because Larry puts out a lot of interesting memes as well.
Yeah, we've also got a company website, or not website, but Facebook page called Limitless Energy Technologies. And that I post a little bit more scientific information, and about once a month I will post every single thing that everybody needs to know in order to do exactly what we've done. You just got to put it together for yourself.
Right, and that's Limitless Energy on Facebook?
Yeah, Limitless Energy Technologies.
Oh, Limitless Energy Technologies. Gotcha. Okay, I just want to make sure we got that out there too, because I'll tell you, I've got so many of these pages, I don't know who is what anymore. Like I said, I go to your page and I pick up interesting stuff, and Larry's always got interesting things to say about a lot of stuff, even outside of the technological issues. Let's just say. So, definitely, if you're going to utilize Facebook, which I don't exactly like very much, but I do use it. If you're going to, Larry is definitely somebody you should have on your friend list if you can, because he's definitely giving you a lot of good information, just like you did tonight. I do know that Justin wanted to get back into the pyramids discussion. Are you with us, Justin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, where'd you want to go with that? Because we're actually just about down to the last 18 minutes or so.
Well, I just wanted to go with the pyramids, like the natural frequency. If the Earth is resonating its natural frequency, that's because of the things around the Earth, and including the Earth, the roles they play to make that frequency.
Yeah, the Earth is the negative and the air is the positive, and everything in between is the resistor, the capacitor, whatever you want to call it. And we all make up the electrical charge of the Earth.
Yeah, so if the Earth has this frequency, because of the sun and the moon and the things around it that take place, which give it its frequency, then you can also use those things to make your power. Which
Absolutely.
is what I believe that what they were doing.
Exactly. They were using the electrical energy of the Earth and projecting it through the pyramids.
Because if you take a magnet and you put it near a coil, and then you pull it away, and you put it near it, you pull it away, you put it near it, you're going to see power. Yes. I see the moon playing that role in this factor, because you look at the tides, they get pushed out and they get pulled back in. So that to me is one magnetic field pushing against another magnetic field. It's the same role. It's just doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, they're gravitational fields in that case. And yeah, it's the constant fluctuation and movements of the tides that allow our Earth to generate its electrical field. That is our motor. That's our motor running.
So those monolithic buildings can be induced by the moon.
They are induced.
They are induced, yes.
All the pyramids are induction coils.
They are. You can see very, very numerous pictures what transformers are which on which, I guess, hieroglyphs.
Yeah, all over the temples at Karnak. That I believe that the priests of Karnak were the electricians. Okay, back in the beginning, when all these words were translated from Egyptian and Greek and all that, they spelled worship wrong. It should be spelled WORKSHIP, workship, because the priests that did not have to go out and hunt and gather to support themselves were able to study. The priests were the keepers of the knowledge. They went to the temple to work, to perform their duties, to be the electricians, the mathematicians, the scientists, the medical people. Whatever science was there was kept by the priesthood. And when we go in and conquer a civilization and kill off all the priests and burn all the books because we think they're magic and heretical, then we rewrite the books. So that knowledge is lost and replaced by what we consider is real. Then we get conquered, and the same thing happens to us, and then they get conquered, and over the millennia, man has pushed itself back into the Stone Age.
Yeah, well, they say that we keep going through the Golden and the Bronze and the Iron Age.
Yeah.
And I believe we're in the Iron Age.
Civilization has risen and fallen on this earth for over 400 million years because they found brass watch gears in a 400 million year old stone. They found an iron pipe that's so old it's filled up with rock, and it's inside of a rock that is millions of years old. That wasn't put there by modern man. That wasn't put there by modern man.
No, so they think that modern society thinks that we're far behind. We're not. Like, even if you look at the blocks, some of the blocks, what they did was they would cut out a T on the one half of the block and a T on the other half of the block. So when they met the blocks up together, they would pour iron, because the two T's would make an I, which would be like a staple. Copper. Or copper, or any of that, into the two blocks, which would make them so they wouldn't come apart.
Right. An interlocking surface.
So they had forges, and they had induction forges.
Yeah, it was
they have
all
pictures of the
done.
They have pictures of the Tesla coil. They have pictures of the Wimhurst. They have pictures of all this technology on these pyramids.
You know, Larry, did you see that structure that looks like it's made out of a bunch of H's?
Yeah, just like Frank Lloyd Wright did in the 50s. You pour the structure that you want, and then they're all the same, and you just put them together like Legos.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought when I saw that as well, but I was wondering if you knew what the purpose of those, because it looks to me like that those H-shaped rocks seem to have another purpose besides just being stable for construction.
They could have been used for smelting pots.
Okay.
There's a lot of different uses. The inside cuts of them that are still, the 90-degree angles on them are still so sharp that you can cut your finger on them after all these hundreds of years that they've been out in the weather. That's amazing technology. And that could either be done through laser, through hydrogen cutting, through pouring it. Even the Romans had better concrete than we do. A lot of these pyramids were poured on site. And once you eliminate the mass out of the gigantic stones, one finger can move them. Mass is eliminated through frequency. When you know the atomic frequency of anything, you can eliminate it with other frequencies. That's the business that I was in for years.
See, and that's the fascinating thing, because people all the time say, these giant slabs and things that were moved, they can't really figure out exactly how it was done, et cetera, et cetera. But you actually know how it was done, don't you?
Yeah, Lee Scallon demonstrated it through his PMH. He called it a perpetual motion holder. I call it a permanent magnet holder. You put a frequency in a PMH that you have tested inside your lab with a little piece of the material so that you can tune it exactly for that piece of material. Then you go back out to your big piece of material, transfer that frequency with your PMH into that rock, and that rock loses its mass.
Yeah, there's no such thing as gravity.
Well, yeah, you put you got a rod under it and a chain on the side of it, and you touch that perpetual magnet holder to it, and then electromagnetically nullifies its mass and gravity.
Exactly. That way, if in fact the pyramid was done only 5,000 years ago and they did it in 20 years, which I don't believe any part of that, then you could have placed a stone every 9 minutes or every 9 seconds, however often that it was to make this many millions of rocks put together.
Well, didn't they find a new pyramid in Crimea that's 200 feet under the ground?
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, they just recently found that. That's when Russia first took over Crimea.
That'd be interesting.
So
that means that one is really old.
So if you put a rock out on your front yard, how many years will it take for you to not see that rock no more?
Yeah, a lot.
So 200 feet.
50.
200 feet. That's pretty old.
Yeah, the rates at which these things get buried vary because of different concerns, depending on whether they're near a coast. There's different shifts, on a coastline and stuff like that. So, but then again, this is like a lot of those answers are sort of from conventional archaeology, which is sorely lacking, in my opinion, here.
Yes.
So, I guess it's questionable as to how long it would take, but you got to imagine it's a very long time for something to get buried that deep.
Yeah, and the pyramids in Bosnia are all covered with trees and stuff. The pyramids in South Africa are covered with trees by Adam's calendar. That's something that's real interesting to me at this point, is the ringing stone circles, over 2 million of them in southern Africa.
The Taurids.
Yep. Those are amazing.
All of them, some of them in flower shapes, some of them, they're all transformer configurations of some sort, and they're all made out of a stone that rings harmonically. That means that the people that went to use them could have beat their drums and sung their songs to make these things work.
Tell them what happened when they tried to get one on the plane and it went through the scanner.
Michael Tellinger is researching this, and they found a dolerite stone that is toroidal shaped, and oddly enough, it happens to be the exact size of one of our smallest toroid. He took this in his suitcase through customs, got on the plane. It blew up the X-ray machine. This rock blew up the X-ray machine. They pulled him off the plane, did all the customs thing with all the guards, and finally one of the guards says, "Oh, well, this is a common artifact around my village." So they let him go. This stone is in Nassim Harriman's hands right now. He's had it for almost a year now, and he's supposed to do magnetic and electrical experiments on it, but at this point he's having a problem designing a Faraday cage that he can put this in so that it won't blow equipment up. We're going to work with him on that a little bit, but this stone, I believe, in a larger form, was placed under the golden capstone on the top of the pyramid to amplify the signal. And I want to wind one so bad I can taste it.
Well, listen, yeah, that would be amazing, right? We've only got about 5 minutes left, Larry. And
Wow.
yeah, it went by really quickly, right? But and I can never really get enough of this because it's just amazing. Like I said again, the amount of knowledge you have about so much of this stuff, the history, the actual current knowledge regarding alternate power sources, regarding free energy, regarding the reality of what has been discovered and what has been redacted from our historical knowledge at this point, and even your position on history itself. It's just really a privilege to have you on. But I wanted to know if there was anything you wanted to make sure we got in there before we run out of time.
Just the same thing that I say every time. Inventors, keep up your good work. You're going to get noticed. Somebody's going to pick you up and take you to the moon. And investors, if you don't loosen your purse strings and start supporting some of these inventors, you're going to be left behind without a profit source.
So that's about it. The best thing you can say. And besides that, you want to encourage everybody who's trying to come up with new things, and you'll be more than happy to see more and better inventions, especially regarding energy, but regarding any of this stuff that's healthier for the planet, healthier for the people, and definitely less harmful than any of the stuff we have now. Right?
Absolutely. Everybody can do their own part to make it better. Everybody has got an idea that will work. Just do it.
So, Justin, Muddy, you guys want to add in anything before we run out of time?
No, great show. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
happy.
a few things. Basically, we was talking about frequencies of growing your teeth back. Basically, it was put out as to make your teeth more healthy, but basically, the frequencies are like 0.023 microwatts. It's not that much, and basically, it's pulsed at close to like 1.5 megahertz or 1.5 gigahertz. I forget the frequencies. But the deal is putting it up to where the root of the teeth is. Even if the tooth is broke off, where the tooth has been pulled, basically you can actually grow your teeth in a period of about 4 months. And grinding up eggshells, the enamel on the tooth is not as strong, and the tooth is not as strong. But to remineralize the tooth and stuff, you can grind up eggshells in your blender, sprinkle it on your food. I put it in my smoothie, and basically my teeth feel a lot better. The circuit can be built with some high-frequency 555 timer chips and stuff, and I'll try to get back at you on that and give you the sites and stuff. But basically, all that can be done. You can actually grow your teeth where you've had lost them and had bad dental and everything through your life.
Yeah, that's definitely information I can personally use, I'll tell you. So,
I look at Larry. I kind of look at Larry, and I call him Mr. Frequency. I haven't called him that to his face yet, but this is the man that knows about frequencies. He blows my mind. When I did my interview with him, I just kind of anything I didn't understand, I asked on a first grade level, and he went on. And basically, puzzle pieces kept popping into my mind, one after another. He blew my mind, and what was supposed to be like a half hour to an hour interview, pre-recorded, wound up being close to about 4 hours, and I know that we barely scratched the surface. So I thank you very much, Larry Woods, and I think you are one of the best inventors out there, and most amazing to me anyway.
Yep, and definitely, Larry, thank you again for being on with me. I'm just about out of time. The Ochelli Effect, and really look up Larry Woods on Facebook. Get in contact with him. He's got loads and loads of interesting information, and he blows my mind every single time he's been on. This has been the third part of what I call the energetic world, because this is what it's all about: the frequency, the energy, the magnetic nature of things around us. This is what's being ignored, what's being redacted, what's being kept from us, and really something that we should have had all along. And Larry has rediscovered a whole lot of stuff, and is just one of the most amazing minds I've run into regarding this kind of stuff anywhere, anytime. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you guys for calling in, and thank you, Larry, for spending this time with us tonight. I can't even come up with a way to praise you any more than I already have, sir, but you are absolutely amazing, and I hope that you'll do this with me again.
Certainly will. Thank you very much, sir. I really had a good time.
Believe me, the pleasure is all mine, and I hope everybody enjoyed this. And like I said, you go to ucy.tv/TOE, and that's where you can find the archives. Also, I have older interviews with Larry on SoundCloud. Thank you, guys. Good night. And I say again, ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Good night. At the age of 19 in 1962, she was
but I have the files. I read the stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? The brain, final slab of choice, computers, internet, professional wrestler, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter whether the cartoon comes from, as long as it's real. It's hard to get real information, because seriously.